the action.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is Dubs OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
Happy to play in the games as Buddy Hield knocks out a 3-1. Concentration. Buddy Hield with an opportunity for a 4-point play, and he says, "No, Draymond, I'm leading the team in scoring tonight." Buddy's got 16. Look at Jimmy Butler shaking his head.
And Buddy Hield with 3 there of his 16, and he ended up game-high honors for the Warriors. Warriors had a bunch of guys in double figures tonight. Looks like 7, but nobody over 16 from Buddy Hield. Huge third quarter. Warriors put away the Charlotte Hornets 128-92. Handle business and win for the 4th consecutive time for the first time since the end of October and beginning of November. Part of that 12-3 start to the Dub season. But it's Jimmy Butler, and it's now 6-1 for the Warriors with Jimmy Butler. And we welcome you in here to Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR, the number 415-808-5627. The Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line is open. You can give us a call or shoot us a text here on the program. Appreciate everybody, as always, watching on YouTube and Twitch as we come to you, as always, from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City here right next to Chase Center after each and every Dubs home game. We are live and ready to roll, and the Warriors, little clunky early, little sleepy effort from the Warriors early, lasted longer than the 2-minute plus sleepy effort from Sunday before Steve Kerr had to call a timeout to kind of wake everybody up, and then the Warriors put a thumping on Dallas. And tonight, one of those games that I think was a test for the Warriors in a different manner than maybe we're used to seeing it be, certainly this year. But it's can you work your way through a game where there isn't a whole hell of a lot of motivation and find your way to not get down and then knock a team out that's just in a dreadful stretch of basketball, unlike few seen in NBA history. And that's the Charlotte Hornets, who just continue to get pounded by 30, 35 plus each and every night, and find your way to that run that puts a game away and breaks a team spirit. Everybody can kind of get their numbers, and nobody has to ultimately work too hard. When you look at the lines here on the night, nobody played more than 25 minutes in this game for the Golden State Warriors, and that was Brandon Pajemski. Stephen Curry, for a second consecutive game, gets to sit out the whole fourth quarter, and the Warriors are just rolling. I mean, they are rolling right now. Erwin Kwong early here in the YouTube chat. Most important stat: Draymond Green, Steph, and Jimmy Butler, easy night. Curry playing 23 minutes, and that's right, because the Warrior games are coming fast and furious here now out of the All-Star break. Friday, Sunday, Tuesday. It's Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday again, and the Warriors are only going to have more than one day off three times between now and the end of the year. It's basically every other day or a back-to-back. It happens twice on the same road trip, oddly enough, surrounding the Jimmy Butler return game to Miami. They've got 2 days off before, 2 days off after. There's only one other time between now and the end of the season that the Warriors have more than one day off, and it's on the next homestand in between games against Portland and Sacramento before, again, it starts to come rapid fire for Golden State. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Some thoughts on this one. Again, a little bit of a sluggish start. Warriors were missing layups. They found themselves down 14-9 quickly, and then Steph Curry hit a couple of threes, had another bucket. It was a quick 15-2 run. The Warriors used a little bit of zone defense. They closed the quarter 19-4 to lead by 10 at 28-18, and then extended the run into quarter number 2, a 32-18 advantage for the Warriors as they picked up the first 4 points of the second quarter. and you look up, and Golden State just in control, up 10 after one, up 15 after building a nice lead in quarter number two, as many as 19 before halftime. Charlotte ending the half to close it to within 15. But the third quarter Dubs were back, and they put 41 on Charlotte in that third quarter. And you go from a game where you're up 15 at the break to a game where you're up 32 after three, and everybody can just kind of relax and enjoy the evening. And it's a fourth consecutive win, and this team is 31-27, and they continue to vault their way up in the standings here in the Western Conference. Dallas got beat tonight in LA, the Luka Doncic revenge game, as Luka going up against his former team, the team that traded him 3.5 weeks ago. And the Lakers get the win in that one. The Lakers are actually all the way up to fourth in the Western Conference, and they are right on Denver's heels. The Lakers could end up as high as second, as crazy as that may seem in the Western Conference, with Memphis getting a win tonight over Phoenix. But the Warriors move in front of Dallas. We talked about what a big stretch this was to come out for the Warriors after the All-Star break, and really they needed to go 3-0 coming out of the gate. You had Sacramento, who they were tied with going into that game in Sacramento. The Warriors handle their business and win comfortably against the Kings. The Warriors then had the next team that they were chasing in the Dallas Mavericks and a Mavs team that had only lost one game since the trade, even though Anthony Davis had only played in his debut before getting injured back on the same day that Jimmy Butler made his debut for the Warriors in a Dallas Mavericks victory. And the Warriors able to win that game and win it in relatively easy fashion. And the vibes were back at Chase Center and all of that. And then you tie Dallas in the loss column with that one. And now tonight you move in front of Dallas. So you've moved in front of Sacramento here in the last 4 days. You've moved in front of Dallas, and you sit at 8th in the Western Conference and only a half game back of Minnesota. The Timberwolves now, with their incredible comeback late in OKC, the Warriors right now would be 7th had Minnesota not pulled off an all-time comeback last night. They'd already be 7th. So think about that. And, oh, by the way, Minnesota is one of the teams that the Warriors have the tiebreaker on in the Western Conference. So you look at this thing, Golden State, all of a sudden, they've got it dialed. 3-1 before the All-Star break with Jimmy Butler, 3-0 after the All-Star break with Jimmy Butler, and this team is 6-1. They've won 4 in a row for the first time since the end of October, early November. They're back to 4 games over 500, and now they hit the road with, frankly, more winnable games right there in front of them in Orlando, Philadelphia, Charlotte again. The Warriors will play in Charlotte on Monday, and then the Knicks are going to be the true test on that road trip coming up next Tuesday night. They'll close it out in Brooklyn, another game, even though the Nets beat the Warriors early in the year when the Warriors were very hot. Part of the games that really led the Warriors into a tailspin there at the end of November. Brooklyn's another one. I think much like Charlotte and Philadelphia, the two toughest games in the trip are Orlando and New York, with New York number one. And so it tonight is just a healthy, feel good. Everybody can laugh. Everybody can rest. Handle your business kind of a win. And it doesn't matter how it starts. The Warriors basically dominated this game with the exception of a couple of minutes from the middle of the first quarter on. And that's exactly what you want to see for a team going up against another that's struggling at the level that the Charlotte Hornets are currently struggling. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Jimmy Butler only 19 minutes in this one. Steph played 24, Draymond 23. And you look at it, and it was balanced. It was another really solid Moses Moody game. 13 points, knocks down all of his three-pointers. and just the kind of game where everybody can contribute. Gary Payton II is hitting threes and making an impact. 14 points in 14 minutes for GP2. We talked about Buddy Hield off the top. Even Kevin Knox got in down the stretch in mop-up time, and Kevin Knox trying to show the NBA community that he is a bona fide NBA player. I mean, he looked like a guy where you're thinking, how do the Warriors get how does Charlotte not have a guy like Kevin Knox on their roster? I mean, they got a bunch of guys who are a lot worse than Kevin Knox. Man of a goodbye Jimmy Butler era. The Knox era has begun. Knox was cooking in that fourth quarter and turned the game into a true laugher if it hadn't already been at that point. So not a lot of analysis, but the vibes continue to be great. And I think the big picture overarching takeaway here to start the show is we're now starting on a night in, night out basis to evaluate, I think, the level at which the Warriors can take this thing. And with every easy win, and I think with as quickly as they vaulted up in the standings from 10 to 9 to 8, they're right there at 7. You look at where things stand as it relates to 6. The Clippers have now dropped 3 in a row. The Warriors are 1 in the loss column behind the Clippers. 1 in the loss column behind the Clippers, and only a half game out of the Clippers, who are currently in 6. Now, they're 5 games back of the Rockets, who have really struggled but got themselves a victory. I think 6 is still probably the ceiling unless the Rockets really careen. But 6 is on the table. 6 is absolutely on the table because the Clippers are +5 to 500. The Timberwolves are +5, and the Warriors now are +4. And the Clippers are heading in the wrong direction. The Warriors, in a big-time way, are headed in the right direction. And how about this one? The Warriors have won 3 games consecutively, Kyle, by 24 or more points for the 5th time. They've won 3 games by 24 or more points for the 5th time in their franchise history. The last time they did it, the beginning of the KD era, it was in November of 2016. So the Warriors, the dominance and the point differential, it's funny, I was checking the point differential just for grins to see just where teams are trending. And the Warriors have really vaulted. Yeah, Alpha, JD called me crazy. I think the Dubs might be able to get 5 games is a lot to make up with, 25 to go now? 24 to go now for the Warriors at 31 and 27. 5 games is a lot to make up. You'd really be talking about probably 19 and 5, something like that, with the Rockets maybe going 500. It would have to be 19 and 5. Rockets go 14 and 12, 15 and 12, something like that. 13 and 10, 13. Even that wouldn't necessarily, that would more than do it. But it just, the Rockets would, I think, have to be a sub 500 team with the Warriors continue to be, really just white hot, basically, between now and the end of the regular season. But that part feels like it's very much on the table as you bring in Kyle Haar in our San Francisco studios. I mean, the sky continues to be the limit. We'll learn more about this team on this road trip, but there are a lot of winnable games. And I don't think, the Warriors are putting themselves in the conversation where they can win any game, obviously, against any opponent. But I think you almost look at this trip coming up, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but Orlando, Charlotte, New York, Brooklyn, with Philly there mixed in between. I mean, it almost feels like 4-1 is the target, if not the expectation, given the way the Warriors have played to this point.
No, certainly. I think that's the floor. And I think the floor in terms of the playoff seeding, unless some other team goes on an absolute heater. Like the floor and expectation now should be the 6th seed, and whatever happens up from there, whatever happens. But I think the floor is the 6th seed, and the Warriors are playing like one of the better teams in the West.
100%. And you look at what this team is, and we almost have to evaluate them on the level as to what they do Jimmy Butler era. I mean, Steve Kerr said it in Chicago. I was there, and he said that night the goal is the 6th seed, but he also very quickly said, yeah, it's going to be tough. Like, we're really going to have to win a lot of games to be able to do it. He likened it to, hey, you're going to have at least another 12-3 kind of a stretch, maybe even double the 12-3 stretch. Have it be almost a 24-6, 23-6 kind of 29 game stretch. Again, this team is looking like they may have the ability, if they can stay healthy, to keep that, to have it in them. And so I think it's you really I think Draymond set the bar on All-Star Weekend at a new level when he said he thinks they're going to win the championship. I thought you can understand, I think, more and more, though, as we continue to see this thing evolve, why he believed it. It may still ultimately be too much, but you can see, given the way the pieces all fit together right now, the level at which, yeah, absolutely. We got Alex. Yeah, that works. Alex stopping by, asking what I want to drink here. Alex and Harmonic. We got Alex and Grace, by the way, tonight behind the bar at Harmonic Brewing here in Thrive City. But, I mean, it's the sky's the limit, I feel like. And it's Steph being re-engaged, as we've talked about. It's Draymond being on an unbelievable tear. It's Podziemski and Moody. When was the last time, Kyle, that the Warriors had a set rotation? The Warriors have a set rotation. I've been I've been typing out the rotation on my computer on the notes as I do every night, and it's like it's been a carbon copy almost. Tonight it got off kilter in the second half because the Warriors were blowing them out, and that's exactly what you want. All right, give some other players an opportunity to get out there and play. But Kerr, for these last 4 or 5 games, it's been the exact same rotation at the exact same times, the exact same players, and it's really, it's guys know their roles, guys are gaining confidence, and it's all adding up to the Warriors being a 6-1 team and a team that's currently 8th, as Jacob Violante says goodnight to everyone and heads on out into the night from our San Francisco studios. Kyle, it's the vibes are back. It was a little bit of a. It wasn't the raucous atmosphere at Chase Center tonight that it was on Sunday afternoon, but it was very much like the heyday of the dynastic run where you just kind of were waiting for the Warriors to turn this thing into a laugher, and they handled their business.
Yeah, JD, I'm trying to find the word to describe this one because there was nothing flashy about this one. It was like, okay, come on, let's just go do our job. Let's go make the right pass. Let's go make the right cut. We'll make a bunch of layups and we'll win that way. And there was like nothing flashy about it. And I don't want to call it boring, but it was just like, it just felt too easy at this point. And yeah, vibes are running high.
Don't call it boring. And if anybody, I don't think, Kyle, sorry, I don't think, how many, you can call it boring when it's 73-9 and you've already won a title, and then Kevin Durant comes in and it's all right. When do the finals start? Basically, like it was. But given what Warrior fans have watched this year and the frustration level of 3 weeks ago, with the Warriors, are they going to do anything? Are they not? It felt like the whole trajectory of their season was hanging in the balance based on what they were going to do at the deadline. The Kevin Durant component to this falls apart when it looks like they've got the deal done for him. All I could think in the day leading up to the deadline after the Durant deal fell through was, Miami and Phoenix going to do a direct swap with Durant and Jimmy Butler, and Phoenix is going to get their guy, and Miami's going to get KD, and the Warriors are going to be left with, Vucevic or whoever at that point. Levine had already been traded to Sacramento, and I think the Warriors dodged one there. That despite him going for 42 last night against Charlotte. But, I don't think anyone who's watched or covered this Warriors team over the last 2.5 years is going to think any kind of blowout is boring, especially a Warrior fan, Kyle.
Oh, no, yeah. That was the wrong word. Maybe I'm a little spoiled, but yeah, it just reminds me of the 2015 through 18 years where it was like, all right, this game's over by the third quarter. And it was just reminiscent of that. And then it was just like a feel of they're way more talented than this other team. That doesn't even seem fair.
The Hornets were running some players out there. You're like, who's this? Let me check can I check the game notes? Like, where did this guy come from? Where did this guy play college ball? It was pretty crazy when you think of, KJ Simpson, maybe the best player on the court. Seth Curry didn't even play last night. Ended up with 14 points in this one, obviously. But, there were a lot of guys on this team not named Josh Green, Miles Bridges, or Mark Williams where you're thinking, who are these guys? So again, you can only play the schedule in front of you, and the Warriors, they've got another one against this team coming up next week. In 6 nights, they play Charlotte again. And so that's, you got to take them when you can get them. You got to take the wins any way you can get them. And the Warriors certainly will by that final of 128-92. They get the job done to improve to 31-27 on the year. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. The blowouts are back. The vibes are back in a big time way. And I think this has all come together so quickly that I think it's resetting the expectations, but also what people believe the ceiling can be for this team. And I think it's a special deal. Let's do some chats here in the first segment to open things up here. We'll get to the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line as well. 408 chiming in. We'll do that. But early edition tonight of Kyle's Clicks here on Dubs OT. We may have to we may bring this out first segment and last segment to kind of make sure we're getting everybody involved and in the mix here as we head down the stretch of these final 24. Matt A, 19-game winning streak to break into 50 wins. Wow. Yeah, I don't know about that, but again, it doesn't seem as unattainable as it did 3 weeks ago. I'll tell you that much. What else do we got? Digum 117. Honestly, it was the best outcome for a game like this. Starters got rest, no injuries, easy win. Yeah, it truly was, I think, exactly how you would pencil it if you were Steve Kerr. It just you want your guys to handle business. You don't want this game to be in peril. The Hornets last week coming out of the break, they went down to L.A. and had a makeup game against the Lakers with Luka and LeBron, and they beat them. They hung around and beat them. And the Lakers were playing really bad defensively, and it was one of those games that it was between 5 and 10 a lot of the night, and Charlotte ended up with a run there at the end of the game and beat the Lakers, which is kind of hard to believe. And you don't want it to be one of those games where a team kind of hangs around and feels like they can steal it. But it just feels like everything is so new and fresh for the Warriors right now in the Jimmy Butler era, and there are so many people contributing at levels that we haven't seen them this season, and the energy and everything that's gone along with it. It just doesn't feel like it didn't feel tonight like there was going to be a letdown. Like often you would think, all right, there's going to be a letdown, and this game might be closer than it should be. And it just wasn't. Like, I wasn't expecting this game to be close. I was talking to our buddy Austin Scott before, and he was thinking about the line, and I think it was 18.5. I think the Warriors were 18.5-point favorites coming into this thing, and he thought, man, Charlotte's really been getting hit. I could see this game maybe being a little bit closer than people think. And I said, I don't know. I just it doesn't feel like the Warriors have that in the bag right now, which I think is a great problem to have as you head on a 5-game road trip. And it's all about the long road trips now as you look at the upcoming games. 5 on the road, 7 at home, and then 6 on the road in the next 18. It's all in chunks as the Warriors are going to continue to play a lot of games on the road, but they've got still 11 of the next 18 on the road as they're in this 12 of 14 on the road. But it's 5 away, 7 home, 6 back away, and then there's a little bit of back and forth over the final couple. And then it's April, basically. Then it's opening day at Oracle Park, and there's a week to go for the Warriors in their season with a handful of games to go, and they'll go back and forth down the stretch there. Gisak, they've been more appealing to watch. Balance. Yeah, they no, without a doubt. The pieces fit. It's amazing. You add Jimmy Butler, and all of a sudden Steve Kerr can carve out a rotation, and the pieces fit. It's everyone playing their roles. Absolutely. Everyone is playing their roles, but the Warriors are able to have everyone play their roles because they have a more true pecking order at the top. The void of having a true number 2 meant that someone was always out of position in terms of the pecking order and their roles. And I think that led to a lot of disappointment on nights where nobody filled that role. And it led to Steph Curry having to carry too much of the weight. And that led to Steph Curry struggling more than we've seen him struggle in recent memory. And it also started having everybody question whether Steph was aging a little bit more quickly before our eyes than maybe anybody in the Bay Area would have wanted to have seen. That's been squashed here in the last 2.5, 3 weeks. Carlos Herrera, Dubs killing it in the third period like the dynasty. Yeah, they're putting teams away in the third period, and it's amazing. I mean, a lot of times I feel like that's an opportunity, especially against bad teams, that if they're just a tick not ready for the energy level to go up, and a good team really comes and puts the clamp down on them in the first couple of minutes and is hitting shots, you can win a game right there. You can end a game right there. And we've seen the Warriors do that now here in a bunch of different times in the Jimmy Butler era. Bob Granelli, Warriors are how many games back of 6? Yeah, well, we did the math, and I'm looking at it right now. Clippers got beat again. The Warriors are a half game back of 6. 1/2. Clippers are 31-26. The Warriors are 31-27. Now, Minnesota is still in between at 32-27, so they've got the half-game lead. Warriors don't have the tiebreaker on the Clippers. They do have the tiebreaker on Minnesota because the Warriors took 3 of 4 against the Timberwolves, including both games in Minnesota. But the Warriors suddenly are playing at a hotter level than Minnesota has played at really at any point this season. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Joe Schmo, Pods and Healed need to be solid, and JK to fit in. Oh, we're getting to JK. We're going to get to Jonathan Kuminga because Steve Kerr addressed Kuminga's impending return during his pregame press conference. A lot of games to go, as Joe Schmo says, but some hope definitely on the horizon. Let me get one quick one in the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line here. 408, JD, do you feel it's crazy to think that the Butler trade has a chance to go down as one of the better trades in league history? Well, I think if the Warriors go from where they were to winning a championship, I think it's going to be a great trade. I will say that. League history, I don't know that Jimmy Butler's going to be a Golden State Warrior for long enough to maybe have this thing go down as one of the great trades in league history. I mean, I think we're talking about 2.5 years tops. But if the Warriors win a title, it will be a rousing success. Whether it's this year, which apparently is now back on the table, or next year, however it winds up shaking out, I think that's something we're definitely going to have to continue to keep an eye on and or evaluate. All right, let's take a quick timeout. First timeout, 808 KNBR, the number if you want to jump in on the phone lines. We'll get more in the YouTube chat. We got Sounds of Dubs OT coming up. We will get into some more thoughts on this one, a few more in the chat here when we come back, but we also have to get into what we were just discussing, which was Steve Kerr pregame on Jonathan Kuminga and his impending return. It's getting close. Likely to happen coming up here on the road trip. But, Steve, you're not going to want to miss what Steve had to say about Kuminga's role and what he sat down with Jonathan Kuminga and advised that Kuminga start doing. I think it's another example of how fascinating the Kerr-Kuminga relationship truly is, because you can dissect what Steve Kerr had to say and go a bunch of different directions with it, as always. So we will do that coming up. And now I want to get everybody's thoughts in the chat, on the phone lines, and on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line as the Warriors get the win, 128-92. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Dubs OT with John Dickinson keeps rolling. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Well, they're not going to settle for that three. Nice block by Nick Smith Jr. Jimmy, let me draw a foul and go to the line. You got me once, I got you back.
All right, Warriors win 128-92. We're back here from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City into the 10 o'clock hour. Warriors have won for the fourth consecutive time. Balanced attack for Golden State, as nobody had more than 16. Nobody played more than 25 minutes, but the Warriors do end up with 7 players in double figures. They are 31-27 and just a half game out of the 6th seed in the Western Conference. 808 KNBR, the number, 415-808-5627 to jump in and join the conversation here on the Sports Leader as we are with you here tonight following another Warriors victory and at Harmonic Brewing, as we do after each and every Dubs home game. All right, let's get into what we had talked about and teased before the break. Steve Kerr pregame, a big overarching question hanging over, and I think with a lot of optimism with the Warriors on this streak, is the return of Jonathan Kuminga. And everything's cooking for the Warriors right now. Steph's re-energized, as we've talked about. Draymond's re-energized. Guys are fitting into their roles. Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski have become high-level starters on this team, with Jimmy Butler now in the fold and key contributors. I mentioned the fact that the Warriors basically every night now over these last 4 or 5 games have had the exact same rotation, where you look at, Buddy Hield comes in for Podziemski, Peyton comes in for Jimmy Butler, then Looney and Guy Santos come in, and then Jimmy Butler and Podziemski come in. Podziemski for Curry. Butler comes back in for GP2 after GP2 plays a couple of minutes. And Quentin Post is starting the second quarter with Draymond and Jimmy Butler, and Steph still out, Moody and Podziemski. And it's all just added up. And basically that's been the rotation, and it's been highly successful. So how is Jonathan Kuminga going to fit into all of that? And I think, as we've discussed a lot, it's a nice problem to have. And I think anytime there's a talent the level of Jonathan Kuminga, it's tantalizing to think of just the different ways that he'll have the ability to fit in. The first one I want to hear is Kerr on the return itself, and not the one about watching film. So here was Steve Kerr, longer answer, but here's what he had to say about Kuminga returning and how much thought Coach Kerr has given to how things are going to fit.
I'm honestly not thinking about it much. We talked today, and the main thing I want for JK is to not press. When he comes back, there's it's not an easy spot to come back into, where teams rolling, contract stuff this summer. He's going to have a lot on his mind, and I want to make things as smooth and easy as possible, and I want him to understand that it's not going to happen right away. He was playing the best basketball of his career before the injury, and it's not going to happen the first night where he's going to get back to that level. So it'll take a little time, but he's working hard. He's doing great. He's in good spirits. So we're excited to get him back. And then, whenever that is, we'll figure out the rotation from there.
All right. So patience, number one. Steve not stressing about it. I think that's certainly on point. I mean, they've got things rolling, and the main thing is really him being healthy. And I think the Warriors, this was a pretty significant ankle injury, clearly. And I think making sure that he's 100% healthy, and the Warriors have the luxury right now of slow playing this thing and making sure that he's healthy, continuing to allow this group that's played so well together to forge a bond. And I think Steve is right on with the key to this whole thing. Number one being that Kuminga doesn't press, and acknowledging the fact that it is a difficult spot for Kuminga to come back, because Kuminga is someone that's trying to get paid. I mean, that is a fair part of the equation. And we know from covering Kuminga, that's something that he's always thinking about. He is thinking about role and the future financial and pecking order and where he sits, and it's natural. I'm not saying that necessarily as a criticism. It's natural for a young player to think that. And I think it all goes back to what we've discussed a lot, which is less is more. And he will eventually get opportunities, I think, to stretch out and flourish and take on a bigger role. I think there's no way the Warriors are going to be fully healthy between now and the end of the year. I think they may look to give Draymond some games off here and there. They may look to give Jimmy Butler a game off here and there. All of those kinds of things, I think, would have the ability to be in play. But, he is going to have to focus on the fact, setting aside that he was playing the best basketball of his career for that 5 or 6 game stretch before the injury. And he's not going to come back, as Steve said, and be 25 a night. It's about the little things. It's about how do you fit into a role. I would imagine he initially gets a little bit of an expand. He's going to take, I think, some of Guy Santos minutes and some of Gary Payton's minutes, depending upon the night. I think there's going to be nights he'll take some of Draymond Green's minutes. I think that's something they can look at. But I think as you look at the way the Warriors have had the rotation to this point, I think Kuminga gets the Guy Santos minutes, at least initially. And it's less is more. It's cutting. It's not forcing the action. It's allowing for the Warriors system and the gravity that if he's out there with Jimmy Butler or Steph or both of them, that those two create, and just look to get in where he fits in and hustle and rebound and defend. I think the Warriors are going to look to try to give him an opportunity to be more of a point of attack defender, which is something that they need. Frankly, they lack and they need, and so I think that's going to be important. And so, can he do that effectively? Is something that's going to have to be factoring into the decision. I think the key is, as much as Kuminga may not want to not worry about the money and the clout and the role and the pecking order and all of that, I think he has to trust that the opportunities to put up big numbers maybe won't be there as frequently as they could have been, but will still be there between now and the end of the season if he comes in with the right mindset and takes it slowly, because he can fill it up. And, joke's on you, JK is going to be the new David Lee, great skill set that now no longer fits. I think it can fit. I think it can fit. It's just, but it is going to be dramatically different than it was before the trade, where they were dependent on, Kuminga had worked his way into, he had to be the number 2 because nobody else could be, and he wanted to be, and Steph needed the help. And even on those nights, Steph was, it was exhaustive, the whole experience. So I think that's going to be something that it's all on him. I think Kerr doing the right thing before this road trip, bringing him in and talking to him. And, he is still a key part of this team. I'm not, but he's not coming back as the third option. That's the one thing. He has a lot of people, he's the third option, and he's going to come back and probably play 15 to 20 minutes a game initially. And then it'll go 20 to 25. And then they'll give Jimmy Butler or Draymond a night off, and he might be 25 to 30 at that point. He can get there, but he's going to – and again, this part sucks from a selfish standpoint, for him. It sucks. I'll just lay it out. It's not. He's just going to have to. It's not going to. He's going to have to re-earn it. That's the part that sucks. He's going to have to re-earn it because everything around him has changed. Moses Moody now works. Brandon Pajemski works. Like, those were two guys that were beneath him in the so-called pecking order. And again, I don't even really think there is a pecking order. I don't think there is beyond Steph and Jimmy. And really, it's Steph, Jimmy, and then you see who's making the most of it in the matchups on a given night. And it's been Moody and Pajemski frequently. It's been Buddy a little bit. Bennett Roth, Warriors now 10-0 when Moody starts. If that ain't indicative, yeah, he's starting at the 4. He's starting at the position that Draymond or Kuminga play. If that isn't indicative, I don't know what is. But yeah, Moody's going to keep starting. But he's going to keep starting, and that means JK's not going to be starting. Which, oh, by the way, he wasn't starting anyway. So I think that works to the Warriors' advantage. The fact that he wasn't starting, so it's not like you're taking anything away from him that he had before. And look, I think Kuminga is a good young man. I think he's smart. I think he's smart. I do think he gets caught up in a little bit of the clout and the pecking order and the accolades and the money and the little bit of the AAU culture, little bit of the guy that went to G League Ignite. And that I think there is a little bit of that. G League Ignite was like the AAU for guys that for NBA play, for NBA level players that had to play somewhere until they could be drafted but didn't want to go to college. So and I think at times, as much as he said the right things, his agent has not always said the right things. And look, I think before we play the other clip, because I think this was fascinating too, I think it relates to, he's going to get paid by the Warriors for doing the things that the Warriors want him to do. They overpaid Moses Moody ahead of time before they had to. Like, they did not have to give Moses Moody the contract that they did when they did. Kuminga, I think, to a greater extent, might get that treatment. Hey, we believe you can do X, Y, and Z. We're going to pay you as such. And don't worry about thinking you have to score 25 a night to be earning it, because you don't have to be scoring 25 a night to be earning it. And so I think that's important. But he has to keep his wits about him in this thing. And again, I think he has done and tried to be and say the right things. But I think at times the agent and all that gets in the way, because and look, if it doesn't work, then they'll sign and trade him. Like, if it truly doesn't fit and it doesn't work, I think he's going to have every opportunity for it to fit and for it to work. And I think if he takes the right mentality to it, it's going to have the opportunity to explode into something great for him on a personal level, and something great for the team on that level as well. So I don't think this should be deemed to be any semblance of a negative. And if it doesn't fit and he becomes the kind of player that it's best off for him and for the team that he moves in some kind of a sign and trade in the offseason, he might wind up being the player that gets the Warriors over the top to win a title if they come up short this season. So, and that also is a nice problem to have if you're the Warriors, and he would get his payday and get an opportunity to go flourish somewhere else. So he's either going to become a guy that helps him get over the top, or he's going to become the player via trade that helps them get over the top. It's kind of I feel a win-win situation for the Warriors. I also do feel like it's a win-win situation for Kuminga, as long as he winds up having the right mindset about it, top to bottom. Drew Butler, I'm not worried about JK next year. I'm looking forward to see how he can help strengthen the team this year. No doubt. I think fans, though, need to temper their expectations for Kuminga. Like, and again, it's a split. I think personally there's been too much of the Warrior fan base salivating over Kuminga as if he's going to come back and be the guy that he was before the trade. And it's just going to mean, wow, they're really going to have a shot at a title because he's going to be this dominant scoring force. If you haven't been paying attention, that's not how he's viewed by the coaching staff. And if you haven't been paying attention to that, let's listen to this next clip. Because I think Steve Kerr lays it out very clearly, and I think this is a complimentary statement toward Kuminga, but as is everything surrounding Jonathan Kuminga in the debate about the Warriors and his role and his future. Let's hear what the head coach had to say about Kuminga and what he's looked to have him do and how Jimmy Butler has the potential to help him.
Watched some film and just, kind of checked in with him. It's a good time to do it. I mean, he's been scrimmaging the last few days and inching closer. And so I just wanted to touch base.
Film on like Jimmy minutes that, hey, this is where you can fit in, or his film?
No, more just his film, but also showing some of Jimmy's stuff, what Jimmy's doing right now. Because I think he's the perfect guy for JK to emulate. What makes Jimmy special is that he doesn't try to be special. He just plays fundamental basketball. And, the constant fundamental play, he never turns it over. He just makes a simple play over and over again. And I want JK to learn some of that. He's so explosive. I think it's always hardest for guys who are the most talented to make decisions because they've got too many options at their disposal. So I'm hoping that he can learn from Jimmy and that Jimmy will spend some time with him. I know he will. Jimmy's really good about that. But just understanding that, attacking the rim, nothing there, jump stop, pass the ball. That's a great basketball, especially for us because Steph Curry's on the other end of the play a lot. And so just some basic stuff like that. And I think, as I mentioned, JK, before he got hurt, was the best I've ever seen him play. So he was already on a really good track. And it's just a reminder to, these are kind of the things we want.
A couple of the things that stood out to me. I think he's the perfect guy for JK to emulate. And it's about the fundamentals. Jimmy is special in that he doesn't try to be special. I think at times JK does try harder than he needs to be special because he is a young, talented player that's frankly looking for that payday. The work ethic, the basketball basics, the ability to pass, like that's the other part of this Jimmy Butler experience for the Warriors in these next couple of years. If Jonathan Kuminga proves himself to be worthy of continuing to be a part of this thing, it might be the best thing that ever happens to Jonathan Kuminga's career to be paired up with for 1.5 to 2.5 years with Jimmy Butler. Because at the beginning of this thing, Kuminga may have had a ceiling somewhat stunted by the lack of fundamentals or belief that the fundamentals are the way to get him closer to his ceiling while also helping this team in the short term, to becoming somebody that actually might be closer to being that superstar because he models himself more after a guy like Jimmy Butler and the patience and everything that goes along with it. So I think that's a great model and template and way for Steve Kerr to view it and explain it. I mean, it really is. He's special because he doesn't try to be special, just plays fundamental basketball. I want JK to learn some of that and can use that as an extension of what he had already started to put on film and on the table in the lead up to where before he was injured and has had this unfortunate lengthy absence. I mean, it's basically going to wind up being 2 months by the time he comes back. I mean, that was the first week of the 49ers still had a game left when Jonathan Kuminga got hurt. It was the night before the 49ers last game on January the 4th. So, I mean, that that is a long time. You know, if he comes back Saturday, let's say at Philly, I mean, you're basically talking about 8 weeks since Kuminga went down with that injury. And so I think he's going to have to make sure that he can slow play. And again, I'm just going to continue to say it, Kyle, less is more. And the mindset should be that you will get opportunities to flourish. Kuminga has historically, when he hasn't played or he's played well and then been injured and come back, it's taken him some time to get it right anyway. And so I think, that is even going to be harder on him given the fact that the team's playing well and all of that. So I think it's especially important this time around that he just get in where you fit in, but know eventually, and it takes him some time, but eventually he gets to a point where he becomes a freaking weapon for this team. And there's enough time left in the season to where I think that can happen again, and he'll benefit from that financially, but he'll also benefit from that, Kyle, as somebody that can maybe help this team reach a higher ceiling than even thought possible at this point. And as we've already talked a lot on this show for the last hour plus, that ceiling is more and more sky's the limit by the day.
Yeah, I think Kerr is reiterating this message that he was kind of telling the team, but it was more so to Jordan Poole. He wanted the team to hit singles, not home runs. And I think that's kind of what he's reiterating to Jonathan Kuminga. Like, he just wants him to make the right play. You don't need to do too much. You don't need to take your defender and shoot a fadeaway jumper all the time. It's just you make the right play, make the right cut, make the right pass, and know when you can take your defender one-on-one. You don't have to do it every time.
No, that's exactly what it is. Let's get a few in the chat as well on this particular topic, and we appreciate everybody as always watching on YouTube and Twitch. Jimbo, like Uncle Looney says, Jonathan needs to play defense and crash the boards. Yeah, I think the energy plays are the easiest way to fit in. Like, don't look to necessarily shoot unless it's that wide open corner three and teams are daring you to take it. But the defense and the crashing the boards, I think he is going to get an opportunity to be a point of attack defender, I think. Now, he's had varying degrees of success when he's been asked to do that. We'll see how all that shakes out. But those are the easiest things, I think, for him to control are the hustle plays, the defense, the rebounding, that kind of stuff. So good comment there from Jimmo. James A., Kerr is concerned about JK, low IQ player, just wants to score points. I don't think he's too young for me to call him a low IQ player. I think he's learning. I think he's still learning the NBA game, and I think he's still learning, even in year 4, because he was so young, the Warrior system. I don't know. I stop short of saying he's a low IQ player. I think his mentality has been that he believes his best way to be effective is to score points on a team that, by the way, has needed him to score points a lot of the time these last couple of years. So I think those two go hand in hand. I think he feels like the easiest way to get the accolades and get the payday is scoring points, but the Warriors have also been so void of a secondary score that they've needed it. Kuminga still needed, as he can take down his defender one-on-one. Moody, Pods, others need help or to draw attention. Again, I think Kuminga helps if somebody's out. Like, that's the other, like, I think, and that's where, hopefully he gets an opportunity to work his way back in with others still healthy and can get to a point where he's really comfortable, because I think he is going to be the quintessential player that may not ask to cook. They may not ask him to cook when everybody's healthy, but on a night where not everybody's healthy, he's going to get an opportunity potentially to look to cook a little bit more. He can take down his defender one-on-one, but the one thing I'm going to say, I don't think the Warriors are going to really want him to necessarily do that with regularity. You need people who can, though. And the Warriors still are, I think, top to bottom void of enough people who can. So I think that's a good thought from Tall Asian Mike. It was tall. It was a Tall Asian Mike? I thought it was. Was it? I was like, it is tall Asian Mike. All right, there you go. I was like, is that Talesian?
I want to be tall Asian Mike.
You could be tall Asian Kyle.
Above average Asian Kyle.
I was gonna say, but I don't actually know how tall you are, Kyle. I really thought
5'10" and a half.
Okay, so all right, yeah, average height, but not average in terms of running this show. Drew Butler, this team's ceiling is with JK as a third, fourth scorer, not two. Well, wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, he might be the three. I mean, he still is the most equipped probably to be consistently the number three scorer. But, yeah, the number two was not it. And so I think you don't need a true number three every night. It can be different players every night. I think you do need a one and a two every night. Your three can kind of fluctuate. I love Kuminga without the necessity of having to have him be at that level as well. What else are we cooking here? Let's do a couple more before we take another break and then get to our full sounds of Dubs OT. Joke's on you. If Kuminga costs him a game, he's going to be sat immediately. There's going to be a short leash there for sure. There definitely will be. And look, this is going to be the other psychological part of it that Kuminga's going to have to deal with. He's going to get opportunities, but they're going to be limited opportunities as they work him back in. I think in part because this team's been humming, in part because they want to make sure he's healthy. So he's going to get more limited opportunities, I think, to begin with. He's going to get opportunities, though, and he's going to have to play well. He is not, and this may be hard for some to hear, he's not going to automatically be a finishing player. He's not going to automatically be a starting player, and he's not going to automatically be a finishing player. Like he has no guarantees. He's not Steph. He's not Jimmy. He's not Draymond. Again, he's behind now Pajemski and Moody, I think, just based on the fact that those two have played so well with the other three. But that doesn't mean that he won't be a finishing player on some nights. I could absolutely see the Warriors finishing games with Draymond, Kuminga at the 4, Jimmy at the 3, Pajemski and Curry. I can definitely see that. Pat H., when things are stale offensively and threes aren't falling, JK can drive and get you twos or free throws. There's always a spot for that on the team. Well said. And I think he also becomes the kind of player that can help against lesser teams. Like there are some teams where Kuminga can just go put his head down and get 16, and the Warriors are going to have the ability to get a little stagnant, I think, between now and the end of the year. I also think one thing the Warriors are going to fight is the syndrome of believing that they can just show up and win. And there's going to be nights where they're a little lackadaisical. They're a little not into the and that those are the nights where I think Kuminga can give him an energy boost in terms of scoring. So again, all in all, I don't think it's a bad thing top to bottom. Let's do one more, Kyle. One more, and then we'll take a quick timeout. Erwin Kwong. The main recipe to win is pretty much established. Steph, Butler, Green with additional scoring from Pods and Moody, Buddy, and now JK and maybe Post. Again, all of a sudden it looks like this team didn't have enough scorers to now they have some score. They have some guys who can get it done. It's all contingent. Hey, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you. Now it's less contingent on who the specific player is going to be, more contingent on the Steph Butler combination and then everybody else. So yeah, well said. I think there by Erwin Kwong. You want to sneak Fozzie in before we let's sneak Fozzie in, and then we'll come back on the phone lines. 808 KNBR. Hi, Jordan. Jordan answering the phone there for that last call in our San Francisco studio. So everybody say hi to Jordan. Jordan's doing great work as always. What's up, Fozzie?
Yeah, what's up, boys? Thanks for having me on. Great job, Jordan. What's up, Overnight Dave? What's up, Kyle? Look, I'm ready to start talking about playoffs, man. This team looks great. And it's great to see Steph Curry and Draymond both get, new life into them. Draymond's waking up for a Tuesday night game against Charlotte. Isn't that cool to see? But look, playoffs. I want to ask you, JD, if we get into the playoffs, our team's going to be fearing a playoff Jimmy Butler and a playoff Steph Curry with the way that
Yes.
Draymond is playing defense. I think teams are going to be scared if they see us. I mean, the West right now looks a little weak to me. We'll see what happens. Cheers, boys.
Short answer is yes. Every team's going to fear it. And you don't know how the standings are going to shake out. We were talking about it in the first segment. You don't know how the standings are going to shake out. Denver's on the upswing. The Lakers are on the upswing all the way to 4th. Memphis is a little shakier of late. Houston's a little shakier of late. Could Memphis and Houston end up 4-5 or 3-4 with Denver and the Lakers up 2-3 or in Memphis 4-5? I mean, the top 5 are now in a battle. Really, 2 through 5 are in a battle. There are 2 games separating 2 through 5. It's Memphis 2, Denver 3, the Lakers 4, and Houston 5. I mean, it's 2 games separating 2 through 5. So that will all depend on matchups. And if the Warriors get to 6, they would obviously play 3. If they end up having to go 7 or 8, then is it OKC who's going to be the one? I mean, they got an 8.5 game lead on 1. All of those things are going to shake out. Where it looked like it was OKC, Memphis, Houston a couple of weeks ago, it might end up being OKC, Lakers, Denver, or OKC, Denver, Lakers, 1, 2, 3. And, that changes the calculus a little bit as to whether you want to be the 6 seed or maybe don't want to be the 6 seed at that particular point in time. So 808 KNBR if you want to jump in on the phones, but we'll go ahead and take another timeout. We'll come back. We'll do our full sounds at Dubs OT. We'll also get our fun with numbers in for tonight, and we will call it a night here as we get closer to the 11 o'clock hour. Warriors win 128-92. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no balls.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, we're going to make this the final segment here as we'll go pretty close to 11 o'clock. It's Dubs OT with JD, 128-92, the final. Warriors take care of the Charlotte Hornets. They've won 4 in a row. They are 31-27. They are 6-1 in the Jimmy Butler era. Before we get to our sounds of Dubs OT, as Kyle Haar and Jordan Pratari putting that together along with Jacob Violante. Say what's up to Overnight Dave, too, in the background there. Cheers to Overnight Dave. Looks like he's got the coffee working, as you would need to be able to hang through the night, as he will be doing here at KNBR back in our San Francisco studios. Before we get to our sounds of Dubs OT, though, and we'll get Kyle's clicks and quick version of Fun with Numbers tonight, I want to say a big thanks to Damon for stopping by. Damon, come on over real quick. Just say what's up on the camera. Just hop in there. Yep, appreciate you, my man. Yep, from Fresno, and he's a good friend of Chris Alvarez from Channel 7. Yeah, from Channel 7. So shout out, yeah.
That's a great guy, man. I love that guy.
Absolutely.
Love the Bay Area. I'm from Fresno, but you know what?
Loves the Bay. Got the Curry hoodie on, and yeah, we appreciate you, man. Cheers, brother. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Appreciate you. Absolutely. So Damon, checking again. You stop by, say hi. It's gravy. You get your time. You get your time here. But man of the people is JD. All right, let's get into our Sounds of Dubs OT segment. And we're going to start with a couple of Draymond Green. Then we're going to have a couple of more Steve Kerr from the post-game press conference. Let's go Draymond first. As Draymond speaking in the locker room tonight, here's Draymond on him and Jimmy Butler helping each other's basketball IQ.
I think for me personally, I love to learn from guys who know the game. And Jimmy knows this game in this league as well as anybody in the NBA. And so I have the opportunity to learn from him. That's, for me, I'm lucky. And, I'm all ears. I want to hear what he sees because he may see something differently than me. And if I can learn from that and I can enhance my IQ, that makes us better. If he can learn a few things from me and enhance his IQ, that makes us even better. And it's going to continue to make us a team to be reckoned with.
I mean, it's peas in a pod at this point. I mean, between those two in terms of basketball IQ. I mean, that is the one thing that's been apparent from day one. And Steve Kerr was all over it with the Andre Iguodala comparison. And Butler's a better player than Iguodala, more closer to a superstar player, obviously, in his career. But the fundamentals and the IQ and all of that is on point. And I think that's been the feature, I think, item in the Jimmy Butler artillery has been the IQ. And I think that's where he's been such a tremendous system fit for the Warriors. And again, it goes back to what Draymond had to say. Well, or he didn't say it, but it was essentially sourced when the Marcus Thompson, Sam Amick Athletic article. Draymond to management. Go get another a-hole. But make it a high IQ a-hole. and I mean, it's just, and Jimmy Butler just fits the role. And obviously we're being funny about that because Draymond considers himself that, of course. And it's all worked to this point. All right, let's continue with more from Draymond Green and the ability of the Warriors to put together some complete games, a lot closer to complete games than we've seen, especially consecutively or within a string at any point. I mean, even early in the year, it wasn't like the Warriors were really blowing teams out when they had the 12-3 start. So here's Draymond Green on that and the vibes surrounding this team as they sit at 6-1 here with Jimmy Butler in the fold.
No, it's definitely great basketball for us. We all been talking about it. Adding Jimmy has just changed everything for this team. So we just got to keep doing it. We don't turn the ball over. We're able to get our defense set, and we get good shots. And we're a pretty good team when we do that.
And he's just, again, Jimmy has just had such it's been the calming influence, I think, over everything, in addition to the basketball IQ and all of that's been, full display. And it just, again, this team has found, I think, more quickly a few things that you didn't, I don't think anybody thought, hey, this team was going to start blowing out bad teams with regularity or mediocre teams with regularity and resting Steph in the fourth quarters of games and consecutive days and that sort of thing. But they've been able to fight. It's just whatever you thought the Jimmy Butler experience would be for the Warriors, it's been more and more quickly than I think anybody would have imagined. And that's where it has everybody kind of resetting the ceiling for what they think this thing can turn into. And I think that speaks to the Draymond point. That courtesy of NBC Sports Bay Area, by the way, both of those clips. Couple from Steve Kerr here as we head toward the end on Dubs OT on this Tuesday. And, of course, we'll be back on Thursday for the beginning of the road trip and post-game Saturday and Monday and next Tuesday, as well as following the game in Brooklyn. We got a lot of great stuff coming up here on KNBR for the road trip, and then the homestand that follows out here at Harmonic for 7 consecutive games. This thing is on a whole nother level, and we're going to be all over it for you here. Best Dubs coverage in the Bay on the Sports Leader. All right, Steve Kerr crediting his team, short and sweet, for not overlooking the Hornets, who've been beaten by 35-plus here the last couple of nights.
That was the main message pregame. It's just, we're not in a position to overlook anybody. We're fighting to try to get into the playoffs. And so I liked it. Slow start the first few minutes, but we got it going and held them to 18 in the first quarter. So set a good tone defensively and took care of business.
Took care of business. That kind of win for the Warriors. And it's so refreshing, Kyle. I mean, for the Warriors to just, you kind of go into the game thinking, oh, they're going to win. Like I'm not maybe to the Draymond level where Draymond might look at a game against Houston or Dallas and think it. Like I'm not necessarily thinking it in those games. They could play well and certainly win, as we've seen them do. But tonight is a game where I think everybody thought they're winning tonight, unless they're winning tonight, even if they aren't with it at the beginning. But to win tonight in the fashion that they did, they're winning tonight. Even if it takes them a little while to get going, they should be able to stomp the Hornets out in one big run, and to just execute and play with that, like showing that level of purpose, I think shows that this team means business here between now and the season. And they aren't going to necessarily be content with 18-11, 17-12. Like, no, they're actually going to kind of go for the 24-5 or the 23-6 model, which could prove to be the difference between winning or losing a first-round playoff series, Kyle.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And just going back to this game, I think I only thought in my head when they're up like 20 points, I only thought comically, I was like, how funny would this be if they blew this lead? I was like, yeah, that would be definitely the worst loss of the season. I mean, I was only thinking that comically, and no, there was, once they got going, there was no doubt in my mind that they were going to win.
All right, final clip, and it's one more from Steve Kerr. Everybody's excited. 6-1 with Jimmy Butler. 4 games over 500 for the first time in forever. The 4-game winning streak for the first time since the end of October and early November. Everybody's excited. And Steve Kerr tamping down a little bit of that excitement. I don't know if Warrior fans are going to like that, but let's hear what the head coach had to say.
It's been a long haul. We've been kind of grinding for a while now, but obviously we found something, and it's exciting, but we can't get too excited because there's a lot of work ahead. 24 games to go. I think we're in 9th still, so we're trying to climb the ladder, and we got to keep it going.
Steve, you're in 8th now. Maybe they were in 9th when Steve Kerr had his press conference because the Lakers-Mavs game had not yet gone final, but the Lakers did beat the Mavs tonight. So the LA improves to 35-21, now fourth in the West, and the Mavs with the loss, 31-28. The Warriors a half game up and one in the loss column. You always want to keep more of an eye on the loss column at this particular point in the season, and the tiebreakers as well. And the Warriors still with an opportunity via conference record to best Dallas in terms of conference record. There's only a game and a half separating the two. They'll end up with a 2-2 season series split with the Warriors winning the game on Sunday. But the Warriors 8th and only a half game out of 7th and a half game out of 6th as the Clippers and Timberwolves are tied right now in that virtual tie. Clippers percentage points ahead there. So that'll do it for our sounds of Dubs OT here on Dubs OT on the Sports Leader. Let's do Kyle, you want to do Kyle's clicks or do you want to do fun with numbers first? It's your call.
Well, let's do fun with numbers first.
All right, fun with numbers. Let's hit it.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, fun with numbers. Warriors' fourth straight win, sixth in the last 7 during the Jimmy Butler era. They're 4 over 500 and now 17-13 at home. And the Warriors with a 4-game winning streak for the first time since the Boston game. You got to go back to the Boston win, November the 6th in Boston, and the Warriors able to win the first couple of games of that road trip in addition to the final 2 games at home. They beat the Pelicans twice, and then they beat Houston, the game that they blew the 30-point lead and then won in overtime in Houston, beat the Wizards, and then won in Boston on November the 6th. The last time the Warriors had a 4-game winning streak, it was on that trip in which they then got blown out in Cleveland, but also beat Oklahoma City before coming home and beating the Mavs to improve to, at that point, 10-2 on the season. So the Warriors' vibe certainly changing. It's 6 of the last 8 head-to-head against Charlotte, including 4 consecutive games against Charlotte. Tonight was the Warriors' 3,000th regular season win in franchise history. I know that number's been making the rounds. Teams that have won 3,000 games, franchises in their history, the Celtics, Lakers, Knicks, and Sixers. So a lot of the teams that have obviously been around forever, the Warriors, one of those teams that has been around forever. Just those teams have won 3,000 all time. The Warriors now joining that group. 3rd consecutive win, as we mentioned earlier, by 24 or more, matching a franchise streak. That's the most they've done. It is three consecutive games winning by that margin or more. 5th time in the franchise history they've done it, and first time since November of 2016 that they've done it. Held Charlotte to 92 points, 7-1 when the Warriors hold an opponent under 100, including the 5-0 on the home floor, and 40 more assists for the Warriors in this game, which is their 3rd 40-assist game of the season, and the Warriors are 3-0 when they have 40 or more assists. So that, your fun with numbers, 10-0 record for Moses Moody when he starts in what was a balanced scoring attack for the Dubs. All right, let's get some Kyle's clicks here in the final 2 or 3 minutes of the show, and then we will call it a night and reconvene on Thursday. What do we got, Kyle? All right, our buddy Drew Butler, ask not what the Warriors can do for Kuminga, but what Kuminga can do for the Warriors. I like that one. Drew. Good. Well stated, my friend. Read the Steed, layers to the Jimmy trade all of a sudden. Yeah, a lot of layers. A lot of different layers. A lot of strands, a lot of facets, a lot of stuff going on there. San Jose Jazz fan 4. If the Warriors win a ring this year, Draymond will be intolerable. Oh, my God. Can you imagine? And he called it. Like, he called his shot at the All-Star game. I mean, that I still can't believe he did it, and it's looking more and more like it has a shot, as crazy as I think it still sounds by the game. All right, couple more here. on our Sounds at Dubs OT, or Kyle's Clicks, Kyle and JD, the North Face bros. Yeah, that is a fact. That is a fact. It gets a little chilly at night in the Bay. It gets a little chilly sometimes at Chase. We'll take that. Robert Brown, Jimmy Butler is like a Kolsch. It solves a lot of issues. With that, I'm going to take my final sip of Kolsch before we call it a night here on Dubs OT. Yes, the Kolsch does solve a lot of issues here. All right, couple more. Let's do as many as you see fit. 6. Here we come from Cardavo. Yeah, look, at this point, I almost consider the Warriors the favorite to get the 6 seed, considering that they've made up so much ground so quickly. 5th is going to be tough. 5 games in such a short stretch is going to be really difficult. 2 more, Kyle. Give me 2 more, and we're out of here.
All right. These will both come from Pat H, who claims that he met you before.
I
before
met
the
Pat.
show. Okay, cool. Met
Pat right before the show. Love Pat. Yeah. What do we got, Pat? Pat 8-0. That's right. Pat H did say he mentioned he is 8-0 when he comes to games. I said, "When's your next game?" He says, "I don't have one scheduled." I said, "You better sign up for the remaining 15 or whatever it is, 14. He needs to be out. And yeah, they ought to be paying him to be out here. I hope the Warriors are listening. And then our final one from Pat H. I went and greeted JD as I was heading out. Big salute, JD. I wish I didn't have a long ride home. Well, thank you. We appreciate Pat H for stopping by, and our buddy Damon for stopping by and saying hi as well. Kyle, great stuff, my man. Really appreciate you, and we will talk again on Thursday.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate you, man.
All right. For Kyle and Jacob Violante and Jordan Pratari and Overnight Dave, and for Alex and Grace here at Harmonic, I'm JD. We will talk to you on Thursday following the Warriors and the Magic. That game's going to end in the 6 o'clock hour. Larry Kruger's going to have Niners Nightly. We'll be on right at the top of the 7 o'clock hour. That game's a 4 o'clock tip. So 7 to 9, we're going Dubs OT on Thursday here on the Sports Leader. We'll talk to you then. Warriors win at 128.
You keep doing that. Draymond's always.
Whoa. KNBR 104.5 at 680, the Sports Leader.
Cereal. Ain't nobody going to stop me.
I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not.
But great win.
Who are these guys?
I love you, JD. Bye, sugar.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
Jimmy freaking Butler puts it in.
Everything's gonna be alright.